Good afternoon, welcome to UCFB. Here we're holding this afternoon the latest in the Times Forums of Football Business, where we have a very esteemed panel here to discuss the topics of the day.
I think the important thing for football clubs is to spend what they can afford. Football's been phenomenally successful these last 20 years at generating revenue, at growing the business. What it's been terrible at is controlling costs, and that's what we need to see the balance. That's what UEFA's financial fair play the rules are all about. That's what the Football League's trying to do. Just moderate things a little bit, great revenue growth, but get those costs under control.
A football club in itself has a huge range of things it needs to consider. And I think that the way we're going to see football develop means that the off-the-field activities are going to become ever more important. From a footballing perspective, the authorities are getting tough. We've already seen clubs in Turkey being barred from competing in European competition, and there's a cascade effect that the Premier League, the Championship and the lower divisions of the Football League are all beginning to say, if you can't balance your books, you're going to suffer a penalty.
Obviously, in countries like Brazil, China, they are big supporters. We've got brands, football brands here that have big fan bases in those areas, and that's both the consumer fan base, so the large numbers of people you can galvanise by offering competitions to come and see the club, but also those senior either celebrity figures or business figures who are fans of our clubs, and actually the utilisation of them, inviting them over to see to partake in a match, and that opportunity to have access to them is ideal, and I think you can really kind of grow some economic impact and benefit out of that.
I think financial fair play that's been introduced by UEFA is an attempt to provide a remedy for those problems over time. It remains to be seen whether it's the right remedy. I think there's a bit of tweaking to be done, but generally speaking, I think that it's a track along the right route, and hopefully that will help football to sort of guide it down that pathway.
Clearly, going forward over the next 5 to 10 years, the challenge for clubs is to break even or to run their business in a more of a traditional business model. I'd say a key component of that is what we call stadium utilisation. So how do you generate revenue from this building, i.e. the stadium, for the 335 days or so that the building is empty? So being able to find that answer, if you like the golden answer, will play a key part in the ability for clubs to generate revenue and therefore be able to be proactive in the transfer market, and that then leads to points and success on the field which the supporters demand.
Well, I think a football club is just like any other business, and over the medium to long term, it needs to make profits. So it's got to structure itself in such a way that it can make profits. And I think that's the challenge now. I think everybody's aware of football financial difficulties.
There's a lot of intangibles that probably should try to be measured, but probably haven't been measured yet. Things like productivity when the team win, how productivity goes down when the team loses. So that has a very much an indirect effect, and there's some people haven't looked at it. And of course, there's the cachet of having a professional football team, which is a big attraction for local governments when they're trying to attract big business. So there are a lot of things in which come to bear in terms of how football can impact on the community.
There's a number of ways in which football impacts. Now, we know that specific matches, so things like the Champions League final, brings in visitors from overseas, and that's creating a huge amount of value, about £40 million we estimated. What we haven't done is try to look at that overall impact, and that's something that we're embarking on now in Manchester, to try and understand what that overall economic impact will be. And we hope that can be a model that can then be rolled out across the north of England and the rest of the UK to really understand the full value of football.
Last year alone, I think over 750,000 people included a trip to see a football match in their visit to the UK, and about 15% of that was at Old Trafford, which kind of outstripped any of the other stadiums. So we have certainly in the northwest a very strong visitor economy that come for football or take in football while they're here.
It's like any other business. At the end of the day, it's got to make some profits to sustain itself long term. We don't want any more Rangers.
Well, there we go. So we've had an excellent afternoons of debate. I hope you've enjoyed some of the questions and also some of the in-depth and interesting answers from our panel, and we look forward to seeing you at the next panel.